FRP piles are great in all kinds of soil conditions, from sandy loam to clay and silty soils. Especially great for acid sulfates. As you get down deeper into the crust, you don't see any issues with rot as the pile is resistant to acid sulfates. So we use three general different types of piling applications. Your traditional drop hammer, so a weighted drop hammer, your vibration hammer, so steady vibration pile, and then your impact hammer, which is a smaller impact, repetitive impact. So they each have their pluses and minuses. I think the best for our piles are vibration, because it works in all different types of soils, disperses soils really well, disperses small rocks, so you can pile into slightly rocky areas. Just depend on what you're using, but we use a bunch of different pile adapters on different machines. Obviously you'll have to get the hitch specifications of your machine and match them to the equipment coming in. You can pretty much add our vibration hammer to any one of the machines as long as the hitch set's there. It goes from a 5.5 tonne all the way up to a 25 tonne, so plenty of options. You just have to understand how to use your digger and how to use the drop hammer for the heights that you're dropping it from and the weight you're dropping it from. Send those calculations to our design team and they can facilitate a drop hammer set. If you're not sure how to do the testing, we encourage contractors to reach out to Wagners CFT. We can facilitate a drop hammer set table. We have all three items, a drop hammer, a vibration hammer and an impact hammer, that we can hire those out for contractors on their jobs if they aren't wanting to buy it themselves. With an FRP pile, it's generally proposed that you stand the piles up and push them slightly in to get them set in position. Then you can put your vibration hammer or impact hammer over the top of it, pile it in till you're getting refusal set, and then you swap over to your drop hammer to complete the set. One of the great things is obviously how lightweight it is compared to, say, a concrete pile. You have to use the machine to stand the pile at all times, and you're dealing with a piece of plant to put that pile in the whole duration of the project. Whereas FRP, you can handstand them depending on the size and the profile. You can use a smaller machine, use the pile head adapter to stand the piles as well. The vibration hammer is just the best thing to set the FRP piles. It just operates very quickly, and you still need a drop hammer to get the actual set profile and confirm the capacity of the pile. We predominantly work with contractors. Generally we're design and supply, so we are principal contractors on certain jobs as required, but generally we're working a lot of the time with contractors, and we find there's a huge benefit to being there with them on their first day's piling or talking them through a workshop prior to piling, just to make sure that they have hit the ground running. So FRP piles can be used on a whole heap of different projects. We've done bridges, boardwalks, jetties, pontoons. Generally things around the marine setting is where you really get bang for buck, but can be used in almost any piling application. One of the, disadvantages of piles, or advantages sometimes, are the fact that you're going to keep going deeper and deeper as you understand the ground profile better. Wagners CFT piles can be easily spliced, so just a bolted connection with an internal ID smaller CFT member that goes inside the pile, and then you can easily splice them with bolts and keep sending them down. The integrity of the splice isn't impacted from putting the splice in, it's as strong as the actual pile itself. You can do multiple splices. I think the most I've done is 3. We're very happy with that because you've gone too far, but you're trying to avoid it if you can, but you can just keep going. You don't know what's underground. I mean, you can get all the testing you want done, but unless you're testing every single hole and spending all your money up front, you're never really going to know. So the splicing benefit is huge, as you can just keep connecting them over and keep going deeper as required to get your set. The pile cap that we recommend is a hard rubber. We obviously don't want to take up too much shock of the drop hammer or the impact hammer, but you want to try and protect the pile if you can. So if you have any cracking or degradation to the top of the pile while you're piling, you can just cut it off a bit lower and then just keep going. Or if you're at a low set, you can splice it and then also keep going. So, cutting FRP piles is fairly simple. You're just going to use your normal cutting disc and grinder, the diamond tip blade. We also use backpack vacuums around the cut location to prevent any dust going into the environment. One of the advantages of cutting FRP on site, you can cut other traditional piles on site, but they're quite intensive. Whereas FRP is a one-man job. For example, a concrete cut pile would involve quite a large plant or cutting system to get through it, so it's a lot easier. You're always trying to be safe in cutting any kind of pile. I think with the FRP piles, it's so lightweight because you're using hand tools, can be managed a lot better than using large plant. Not having large plant around, the risk factor is a lot lower. So on my first FRP pile job, I was quite apprehensive not having piled FRP before. I was worried about damage of the top of the pile or damage to the pile if it hit a rock. They seem to be unfounded. I've been piling on projects for 8 or so years, and we've not had any issues with any damage or degradation to the top of the pile cap. We can just cut it off and keep going. We may hit refusal, we may not, and then have to splice. So there's just a lot of flexibility in piling with FRP. We've done multiple piling projects up and down the Australian coast, both as a principal contractor and working with contractors. So we see a lot of success along the coastline. Some of the great ones up in Townsville, near the Townsville Stadium boardwalk, all around the Gold Coast coastline and Sunshine Coast coastline, all the way down south to Melbourne, so it's everywhere. You kind of see it a lot, that great unknown of using a new product versus your traditional steel, timber and concrete, which are just used every day all over Australia. FRP's the new kid on the block, so you do get a lot of questions. Find them mostly to be totally unfounded. You've got piles that you can cut to size and length, whatever you require. You can splice them to length so you can keep going. We've piled over 12 metres deep with our Wagners CFT piles. You're getting a lot of the benefits and doesn't seem to be any issues.